freaking wore my Crocs to the airport. I'm going to Market Basket for the first time in my life. Okay, so just made it to Atlanta. We as women should not have to trade our careers just because we have kids. Good morning. It's very early. In fact, it's 3:39 in the morning and I'm getting ready to go on a trip this week. So I thought I'd take you guys with me. Let's go. It's 4:05. Which is not a bad time to be leaving, honestly. I wanted to leave sometime between 4 and 4:15, so that's good. Okay, so this week I'm going to New Hampshire, of all places. I've actually never been there before. I really haven't been to the Northeast much. Why did the garage door shut? I just went to Rhode Island like a couple weeks ago, maybe last month. But yeah, I still have a few states to check off my list so I get to all 50 states. That's one of my obscure goals, I guess, before I die. But anyway, my flight is at 6. I try as hard as I can not to book these early flights, but when you live in the middle of nowhere and there's no direct flights anywhere, sometimes you just can't avoid it. And so today I am flying to Atlanta and then Atlanta to Boston, and then I have a rental car once I get there. You're not gonna believe this. I freaking wore my Crocs to the airport. I meant to put on my tennis shoes and I did not, but instead I have my Lisa Frank Crocs on. Anyway, I stopped here at the gas station and I'm gonna change into sandals once I get to the airport because I do have sandals in my suitcase, but I'm gonna have to dig them out. I mean, they're cute, right? So I've definitely accidentally worn my Crocs quite a few places on accident, but never to the airport. So one of the great things about flying out of a super small airport is that there is hardly ever a line, especially if you have TSA pre-check. If you don't have TSA pre-check, even if you only travel a couple times a year, I think it's still super worth it. And we had to wait to get on this flight because apparently they oversold it. And so they kept announcing that they needed someone to change their flight, and they got up to like $1,500 before someone finally took the bait and we were able to board the plane. Moline to Atlanta is not too bad of a flight. I think it's only like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. I had some coffee, and then when I got there, I'm always disoriented when I come off of the plane. I'm like, where's the nearest bathroom? Please lead me to it now. Okay, so just made it to Atlanta. I actually stopped at the bathroom here and straightened my hair. I did not want to get up super early and do that this morning. I have a bunch of work I need to get done, and I have a 4-hour layover here until my next flight, so I'm gonna find a restaurant or something to sit down at. I don't have a Delta pass to get into the Delta Lounge. I do have an American membership to get into the American Lounge, but since I'm not flying American today, they won't let me in. You have to have an American boarding pass in order to get in. So, sucks, but whatever. One of the bad things about traveling frequently is that you don't get great sleep, and that is why I want to thank Beam for sponsoring today's video. Beam is a delicious hot cocoa for bedtime, and it helps you fall asleep and stay asleep, which helps you wake up refreshed with no grogginess. It also tastes delicious. Okay, so whenever I'm traveling, I just don't like sleep that great in hotels, and I can't really take sleeping pills because they make me super drowsy in the morning. So I love to use Beam because it helps me sleep, and then I don't have that like sleeping pill hangover in the morning. So I normally just use the coffee maker in the hotel room, and I'll put a little bit of the powder in the bottom and just brew some hot water into there. I'm sure there's a stirrer here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I drink this stuff at home too. It's really delicious. And besides the fact that it helps you sleep, it also is kind of like comforting to have a warm drink at the end of the night before you go to bed. So I feel like that is kind of a benefit as well. All right, so we're gonna stir this up. This drink tastes like a delicious hot chocolate. It only has 15 calories per serving, but then it also has a hint of cinnamon in it. It is so good. I cannot I cannot tell you how delicious it tastes for so few calories, and obviously the sleep benefits are fantastic as well. I feel like there's like many problems with sleeping in hotels. I mean, the first is like it's not your bed, right? So it's not as comfortable. And I think the second is just that you're not in your home environment, so you're not as comfortable as you normally are. Not that I feel like unsafe. I don't feel unsafe or anything like that, but just kind of being out of your regular environment. I was just telling one of my coworkers today, like, I don't think I have ever slept through the night straight in a hotel until I took Beam. I also wanted to mention another Beam product that I actually purchased on my own after trying out the Dream powder, and this is the Beam Core, which replaces all of your supplements with one daily scoop. It's like a refreshing strawberry citrus flavor, and I really like taking it in the morning. As opposed to drinking heavily caffeinated beverages, which I can't do right now due to my stomach. The best part is that Beam is giving my subscribers a discount, so there will be a link in the description box below, and you can use my code Chapin, that's CHAPIN, to get 35% off your first order when you subscribe, and then 20% off of all following orders. Plus, when you subscribe to Dream Powder, you will receive a free frother with your first order. You can pause, skip, or cancel at any time, so there's no risk. Once again, the discount code is Chapin, so click that link in the description box below to get your very own Beam. Okay, so back to the Atlanta airport. I actually like the Atlanta airport. I think that it takes a while to get anywhere because the terminals are so spread out, but they actually have quite a few restaurants and things to do there, and the Wi-Fi worked, so I was able to get some work done. But I found a cafe and sat down there, and then I ended up getting a bunch of work done, and I ordered a salad to go. This was a jerk chicken salad with spinach and some shredded cheese, and it was actually pretty decent for an airport salad. Had a little bit of a delay getting on the plane to go from Atlanta to Boston, but not too much. And I flew Delta this time. I actually prefer to fly American if I can. It doesn't always work out that way. I just try to keep all of my flights with one airline as much as possible so I can kind of stack my points. But I like Delta also because they do tend to have the TVs on the back of the chairs. And I did watch a movie. It was 12 Years a Slave, which I didn't know this, but it's based on a book. A very emotional movie, but I do recommend it. So that was nice that I got to watch a movie. I don't normally watch a lot of movies in my regular time when I'm at home. Got to Boston, and then I stopped and just grabbed something to eat to go before I went and picked up my rental car. I just got my rental car, and it kind of smells like cigarette smoke in here, so like, I hope they don't like smell that when I get back. You're like, oh, by the way, why'd you smoke in your car? Well, I don't smoke, but you know. Where I need to go is about an hour drive from Boston. I did stop and get some food, so I'll eat that on the way because I'm pretty hungry. It's about 6 p.m. I'm gonna try to connect my phone to the CarPlay and see if that works. What is that? Hyundai something? Hyundai with no power seats. Please connect a device. Oh, you got to hardwire it in? Oh, for God's sake. Okay, I got a USB, so that's okay. Apple CarPlay. Oh, there we go. Allow. Hyundai Elantra. That's what it is. Okay, here we go. So I do think it's kind of a pain to have to get a rental car when I go places. Like, it's much more convenient just to do Uber, but you do get to see a lot of the scenery when you get a rental car. So that's a nice thing. And I actually really enjoyed the drive from Boston to New Hampshire. All right. Good morning. I don't think I checked back in with you last night, but I basically got to my hotel room and I worked for several hours, and yeah, that's about it. Super exciting. But you guys said in the last video that you want to see my outfits, and I need to leave in 5 minutes. Let's do that. I never know how to do these, so am I doing them right? I don't know. I'm such an influencer. Anyway, all this is pretty much from Torrid except my shoes. These are Mary Jane Danskos, and I love them because they look dressy like a heel, but they're super, super comfy. I have a really hard time wearing heels and wearing uncomfortable heels all day. I kind of refuse to do it. These pants are from Torrid. I don't know if they have them anymore. I got them several years ago. This mesh top it's a red one, and then there's like a tank top under it from Torrid also, and then my earrings are from Nickel and Suede. Obviously I will bring a black cardigan. I think I got this from Stitch Fix maybe. Yeah, I got that from Stitch Fix. But anyway, I'm gonna go for the day and I'll check back in with you tonight when I get back. Okay, so I'm off work. I'm going to Market Basket for the first time in my life. So let's see. The store is like very bright and clean. I'm very impressed with it, honestly. So my coworker and I brought donuts this morning to our training, and the joke was that why are we bringing donuts when we work in healthcare? We should be bringing fruit and granola. So I wanted to stop here and get some fruit and granola, but I'm getting a couple other things, a salad and some lunch for tomorrow, so I'll show you that. Okay, so let me show you guys what I got. So I did get a Caesar salad. I'm gonna eat that for dinner tonight, and then I'll be here all week. Actually, I'm switching hotels tomorrow, but that's fine. I can take this with me. So I got some light string cheese, and then to go with that, I got some turkey. So I'll probably end up taking some of this for lunch tomorrow. I did get some hummus, Joseph's hummus. I've never tried that brand before. And then to go with that and the turkey and cheese, I got some mini pita snacks. I've never seen these where I am located, and I wish I could get them because 5 pitas for 120 calories, that's fantastic. I got an avocado toast for breakfast in the morning. I don't think I've ever seen this flavor of rice cakes before. This is a sour cream and chive. So that looked good. I got a big bottle of water and a Diet Coke for tomorrow morning. And then I also got some yogurt for my breakfast tomorrow, so I'll probably have this along with avocado toast. And then of course I got the fruit for tomorrow for our fruit and granola. Good morning. Okay, so I'm getting ready to go to work for the day. I had to pack up all my stuff because I am checking out of this hotel today and moving locations to Manchester, New Hampshire tomorrow. No, tonight. The more I sleep in hotel beds, the more I realize how much I love my own bed. So I am facilitating a workshop today, and hopefully all goes well. So I'll talk to you guys after work. So this was my drive after work to my next destination. I could not get over how pretty the scenery was here. All right, so the last time I left you guys, I was basically driving from my previous location to this location that I'm in here now in Manchester. We had a very full day of work today, and basically I'm at the end of my work trip. It is 5:51 in the evening, and I fly home tomorrow. So I actually have a rental car. I have to drive back to Boston Logan, drop my rental car off tomorrow morning, and then my flight is at 10 a.m. tomorrow, which honestly a 10 a.m. flight is pretty good. That means that I get to leave here at 6:30 in the morning, which is not bad. Like, there have been times when I've had to get up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to catch flights home, and let me tell you, it is exhausting AF. But I did ask you guys to send me some questions on my last travel video, so thank you for all of your comments and responding to that. I'm gonna go through them now, so let's get into them. Okay, the first one is from Elizabeth. She says, "Hi Jen, I would love some of your tips when flights are delayed or canceled. What are the first things that you do?" The first things that you do are roll your eyes and cuss. It really depends on the situation. So, I've told you guys before that I fly in and out of a very small airport, and so there are rarely times when I have a direct flight anywhere, which means that if my connection time is very short, for example, you know, like let's say I'm flying from like Austin, Texas to Chicago O'Hare, and then flying home to Moline. Like there's only a certain window of time in which I can make my connection in Chicago, and there have probably been 3 times in my life that I have been stuck in Chicago overnight because of that. So I think the best advice that I have is just to be really like kind to the counter attendants that are helping you rebook your travel plans. If you need to be on a different airline, they should kind of accommodate you to do that, especially if it's their fault that there is a delay. And I have had that happen before, but sometimes there's literally nothing they can do. And, you know, I've been in a lot of situations where I've seen people just like berating, you know, agents at the airport counter, and it's like that gets you nowhere. In fact, you know, there's been times before where I've been like comped for hotels and meals and taxis and things like that. But I think just like being kind to the attendants and just know that it's obviously not in their control. You know, the climate that we're in right now, it's just, the staffing is so short everywhere. And so it's really not anyone's fault at the end of the day. It might be a staffing issue with the airline. It might be an equipment issue. I mean, they try to be, I feel like, as transparent with you as possible. You know, always advocate for yourself, you know, for yourself, but I feel like, you know, trying to be as transparent as possible, or trying, you know, let me rephrase that. They are going to be as transparent with you as possible, but then you also have to be flexible and, you know, just be honest with them, you know, say like, hey, you know, like, is there another airline you could put me on? I really need to get home tonight. I don't normally ask for that, but if I need to, I will. You know, and there have been times when they put me on a different airline before. So it kind of just depends on the situation. You know, you can also Google kind of like what your rights are, you know, per the FAA as a passenger, and kind of figure that out as well. But for the most part, they're not required to comp you for delays, but most of them, if you're nice to them, will try to accommodate you. Okay, Gwen says, hi Jennifer, if you ever want a travel companion to sleep on the pull-out couch, I think we would laugh so much and have so much fun. I think that is a fantastic idea. So like this room I'm in now, I have a pull-out couch, so come on over. We can order DoorDash and have a couple drinks and have a slumber party. All the Maze says, hi Jen, I loved it when you shared your outfits when you traveled and what you packed too. I love it when you talk about what food you get for your room and what you eat. I travel 3 to 4 times a year for work, and your videos have helped give me ideas. Thanks for your videos. I love them all. Thank you so much for your comment. Yeah, so I did try to show this particular trip my outfits, and although I did not have time to show you my outfit this morning because I turned my alarm off in my sleep and slept in, this is a like just a regular like shell shirt, I don't know, that I got from Old Navy like many years ago, and then I just wore a black cardigan over it. So when I pack clothes, I try to pack things that can kind of coordinate with each other. So for example, like this week I needed 3 outfits for work, so I packed 2 pairs of slacks, and then I was able to kind of mix and match those with like a black cardigan and different tops. So that's what I kind of try to do, is pack things that I can wear, you know, multiple times. And for the most part, it's fine. You know, I'm not like dropping food on myself or anything. So, you know, I can usually spray it with perfume and you know, wear it for another day and no one's gonna notice. It's not like I'm like working outside or anything like that. Anna says, thank you so much for sharing. You are truly an inspiration and one of my favorite content creators personally. Thank you. My question for you is, how do you find the drive and motivation to travel so much and find the balance between work, travel, home, family life, and your social life as well? Lots of love. Okay, so first of all, thank you for your comment. I think that honestly, like, true balance is sort of a myth. I think that any mom or dad or parent really who works outside the home really finds it possible to achieve 100% balance. I mean, the reality is that different times in your life, you're gonna have different priorities, right? So like when my kids were younger and they were babies and toddlers, I could not have supported a career like this. It just would not have have worked. And if you look at my resume during that time, I mean, I basically did nothing extra, you know, between the time Kira was born and the time Connor was maybe 3 or 4 years old. I mean, I couldn't do anything extra because I was just so consumed with, you know, my kids. And, you know, that's fine. I mean, hopefully if you have a career, your career is going to last like 30 years. And so there are different times when you can focus on different things. You know, I will say it has been very challenging for me lately to balance YouTube with my career. And I always prioritize my career. I am not one of those YouTubers who wants to quit their job, you know, to do YouTube. I do not want to quit my job. I love my job. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I find a lot of fulfillment in what I do. I worked really hard for my education. And so my career is very important to me and I'm very career driven. And so, you know, during the times when I have a lot going on at work and I'm traveling a lot, you'll probably see me post a lot less on YouTube. And that's just kind of the reality of it. I personally have like a very workaholic personality, which is not always great, you know, but I grew up watching role models that had a very low work ethic, and also we were very poor when I grew up. And so I feel like a lot of that is what has given me my drive to really succeed in my career and, you know, make more than enough money to support my family. I don't want my kids to have to worry about anything. You know, I want to be able to send them to college and them not to have to worry about it. And so obviously I have goals, and I know in order to meet those goals that I have to work for that. And I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to work many hours a week to make all of that stuff happen. Jenny says, my question would be, how do you prepare for when you have to present items? So I will say, in terms of, you know, presentation and public speaking in a work or professional environment, really the only thing that is going to help you and help improve your skills in the long run is just to do it as much as you can, right? Do it over and over again. And it's a really different skill set, I think, to present and teach online or like over a Zoom environment versus doing it in person. It's very different. I would say that it is almost just as exhausting having to do it virtually as it is in person. Just because I feel like on video, you have to just be that much more engaging because you're talking to people over a camera. In terms of preparing, you know, I really try to make sure that I go over the presentation. So if it's a presentation that I have developed myself, then I feel like I've done that as I'm building the slide deck or building the presentation. I really try to make it as engaging as possible. That's something I always try to continually improve on, you know, because we've all sat there and gone through like death by PowerPoint, and no one likes that, right? And so if you're doing a virtual presentation, you know, have people interacting in the chat box, you know, show videos, use the whiteboard, use polls. If you're having people in person, you know, create a welcoming environment so that they can feel free to give feedback. And so I do think it's just preparation, first of all, making sure that you know the content and you're comfortable with the content. And at the end of the day, if it's something that you're presenting for the first time, you do kind of have to fake it till you make it. And a lot of times people don't even know. And I teach facilitation as well. And so one of the tips that I will always tell my students is that you are 100% going to be more hard on yourself than other people are on you. So if you come into a class and it's your first time doing it, don't necessarily tell people it's your first time doing it. I mean, some people do that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I would say, you know, come in with confidence, and if things go wrong, if you have technical issues, just own that, right? You know, say like, oh, hey, I can't get this video to play, you know, my connection is weak, you know, whatever. Always have a co-facilitator if you can, because that is going to just have that extra layer of backup and moral support. That is something that we really stress on our team. We never do an in-person or a virtual presentation on our own. We always have a co-facilitator. We always have a backup. We always have a partner. So that's something that is super valuable as well. Okay, Pamela says, I traveled a few weeks ago and I hated the traveling. Do you enjoy it? Do your kids seem to miss you a lot? Does it make you happier when you are working from home just because you don't have to travel during those weeks? Just curious on your feelings. So I will say that, you know, it has been challenging to adjust to. You know, previously when I had a different role, you know, actually in the hospital, you know, I did travel, but it was pretty infrequently. I would say maybe only a couple times a year, if that. And now this job that I have requires usually every other week travel, which is a lot. Even, you know, even if you think about that, it's a lot, right? Because it's like when I'm at home, I have a better routine that I can follow, right? I mean, I eat better, I sleep better, I do all the things better because I'm not traveling and on the road and in hotels, not having access to the things I normally have access to. But, you know, I like traveling. You know, I think that since I do primarily work from home, the only time I get to like actually physically interact with people, either, you know, in the hospitals and clinics that we go to or with my team, is when I'm on the road. And so I think if I had a job where I worked from home 100% of the time and never traveled, I would have very little job satisfaction with that, because I'm a very social person. And so I do enjoy getting to connect with people. I would say my kids, yes, my kids do not like it when I'm not there. Because I feel like for the most part, the mom is always the default parent. You know, I'm the one that they come to if they have an issue. I make their food, I help them with their laundry, you know, all those things that a mom normally does. I do make it a point to call them usually every night or every other night when I'm on the road, because I think that it's important to keep up that communication when I'm gone. I mean, my kids know if they have issues, they can always text me or call me, and I'm going to try to call them back as soon as possible. We have the Marco Polo app, and so, you know, we're always, you know, myself and Adam and then the kids, you know, we have different group chats and we're kind of always sending each other video messages, and so there are ways to stay connected. But yes, I mean, a lot falls on Adam, obviously, when I'm gone and I'm not physically there. But, you know, as a trade-off, you know, and I tell Adam this too, I said, you know, when our kids were little, I did everything, you know, whether that was because Adam wasn't sure what to do, or I was a martyr, or, you know, a combination between the two. You know, I was the primary caregiver for those kids from the time they were born until, you know, Connor got into school, which was a while. And, you know, I feel like I gave up a lot during that time frame, you know, which was fine. My kids were little. But now I sort of feel like I have the opportunity, now that they're older, you know, to do my dream job, to do what I love, to get to, you know, travel and consult and do all of these things that I have worked so hard in my career to build up to. I mean, I literally have my dream job. I could not imagine a more perfect job for me or my skill set. My coworkers are awesome. And so I think it's a little bit of both. You know, I enjoy traveling for work, but I would say, you know, in terms of like the frequency, more than 2 weeks a month, I draw the line at that. You know, and our team is pretty supportive of that. And I try to make my schedule so that I'm not traveling like back-to-back weeks in a row, because that's really hard as well. I always try to make sure I have, you know, kind of a week or two break in between travels. So yes, it's challenging. And, you know, at some point I might get burnt out with this job, and I'm probably not going to do it forever. And it is challenging, right? I mean, it's challenging in my relationship. It's challenging with my parenting. But at the end of the day, you know, my family knows that I love them, and this is something that fulfills me, professionally. And, you know, there's always trade-offs in life, right? And so I think for the most part it works. But that's not that, you know, I'm not saying that there haven't been challenges. Of course there have been challenges, and there are a lot of, you know, conversations that we have had to navigate. G Armstrong says, I would love to see a top 3 video. What are your favorite things about traveling for work? What are your top 3 frustrations? What are your favorite airports? What 3 things can you not travel without? What are your favorite cities to travel to? What are the funniest things that have happened? Okay, so yeah, I could probably make a whole video about this. I would say my favorite things about traveling for work are just getting to just like work and interact with people. I'm a very like extroverted social person. And so, you know, when I get to go out and like do consultations and provide education and, you know, facilitate workshops and all of that stuff, like that kind of stuff just really gives me energy. I like traveling. I like going through airports. I think that you can get a lot of work done in airports. Frustrations are, you know, just, I would say the dynamic that in the stress it puts upon my family. I mean, that is a trade-off, right? What are my favorite airports? Chicago O'Hare is not my favorite airport, but unfortunately I have to connect through there most of the time. I really like connecting through Atlanta and Dallas because those are larger airports, so those are a little bit nicer. Not that O'Hare is not large, but it's very spread out and they don't have a tram. And so yeah, it's definitely not my favorite. I do like Dallas because I have access to the American Airlines lounge, and they are an American hub, and so there are lots of lounges that you can go to. What are the 3 things that you cannot travel without? Okay, well, first of all, I would say my personal laptop that I have because I'm always working on YouTube stuff. I would say my electronics / charger / cord bag with all of my chargers and USBs, and you know, I even bring a clicker so that when I do presentations I can click through them, a portable charger, all of that, and then probably my AirPods, which are in my purse over there because that just makes it so much easier to listen to stuff on the airplane. My favorite cities to travel to, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've traveled to the Northeast a lot in the past several months, and I really like it up here. The people are super friendly. I don't really like traveling to the deep South. It's just not, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite culture. You know, a lot of the people are really great down there, but then there are some trade-offs as well. I've personally found there to be still quite a bit of institutionalized racism in the deep South, and that is very unfortunate. I don't really like going to Texas, although Austin was super fun, but like a lot of the places to go in Texas, everything is like super far apart. It's very hot. The weather is bad. The weather is miserable. So yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, anywhere in the Midwest. I love traveling in the Midwest because I feel like, you know, I'm from the Midwest. I have like a certain camaraderie with those people. The Northeast, I have not traveled much to like the Pacific Northwest, but that's somewhere where I would probably like to go in the future. Probably the funniest thing that has happened while traveling is that I did have a rental van at one point, and we had a group of like 10 people. We were doing this like huge teaching workshop at this hospital, and I somehow got in charge of driving the van out of the parking ramp at the end of the day, and I totally just like sideswiped the whole van going out of the parking lot. It's like, I've never been in a car accident in my life that was my fault. And I just remember looking in my rearview mirror, and one of my coworkers that was sitting in the way back of the van, her face was just like, and I got out and looked, and honestly, like, I felt like I had scraped the whole side of the van, but really I think I had only dinged the mirror. And so I reported it when I returned the rental car, but you know, typically when you have rental cars for work, there's like extra coverage and stuff, and I don't even think anything ever came of it, but it was kind of a funny situation. You know, I will say too, and this is sort of at the risk of like making overgeneralizations about certain populations of people, which I'm not a huge fan of, but you know, I also deal a lot with healthcare data. And so even just knowing that in terms of like the customer experience data and the healthcare performance data, you know, hospitals in the South tend to perform lower both in quality measures and patient experience measures. Hospitals in the Midwest and Northeast tend to perform higher. And I don't know, you know, what that is. That's something like that personally I'm very fascinated with, is like the regional differences in quality. You know, and I've gone to a lot of different hospitals in a lot of different regions, and it just seems to be like in certain areas of the country, there is a very high standard of excellence, while certain hospitals that you go to in different regions have a lower standard, more of like a standard of mediocrity. And so it's very interesting, you know, to kind of witness that. You know, I've always grown up in the Midwest, and all the hospitals that I have worked in, you know, there has always been that really high standard of excellence, right? And we're there to serve and help patients, and we do what we can and we go all out. But then in some hospitals, you just don't find that. And there's just more of a culture of like, whatever, you know? So I don't know, that has been super interesting for me to kind of see all those differences across the country. And if you have thoughts about that, I would be interested in that as well. Crystal says, I've never traveled for work, so I'm curious, when you get home after your trips, are you exhausted from all of the effort and changes? Does it take you an extra day to readjust and get back in the groove? It really does look glamorous, as you mentioned. It's not. But I'm wondering how hard it is to transition back to real life. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I used to be the kind of person that would come back from travel or a trip or a vacation or whatever, and I would be like, oh, I need a couple of days to get back in the swing of things. No, I don't have that time. I don't. Like tomorrow, I will get home probably around 3 or 4 in the afternoon on a Friday, and I will go right back into cleaning the kitchen and, you know, cooking dinner. Well, tomorrow's Friday, so it's pizza night. So ordering pizza, and then I'll go right into the weekend, and it's Father's Day. So, you know, we're having a dinner and like, so no, I don't really have that luxury of like taking an extra day to recoup. I wish I did, but my life is just not like that right now. I mean, someday, maybe when my kids are out of the house, it might be, but I mean, there's been lots of weekends where I've gotten home super late on a Friday night, and then come Saturday morning, we're up at 6 and we're at a soccer tournament all weekend. So, you know, it's challenging, but you know, as a friend once told me, you can sleep when you're dead. I'm kidding, don't take that advice. Shane says, I was wondering if you ever get to explore the cities that you visit. Do you get to learn about the history, check off the hot spots, get souvenirs for you and your family? I wish I got to do this more. You know, there have been times when I have made time to do certain things in the community. Like one time I was in DC and I really wanted to go to the Holocaust Museum, so I made that happen. But for the most part, no. I mean, it's just like a regular work day, right? I mean, you're probably at a hospital, at a clinic, at a healthcare system from, you know, 7 in the morning until 4 or 5 at night. And by the end of the day, you know, a lot of times museums aren't open after 5 or 6 p.m. anyway. You know, I would say in terms of like going out to dinner with coworkers and kind of experiencing like the local cuisine, I would say that's probably a little bit more approachable. But I mean, it's not really like, I mean, a lot of people I think compare it to a vacation, and they're like, well, if you get to go on a work travel, it's a vacation. It is not any sort of vacation. I mean, I've showed you guys before, you know, me waking up at 3 in the morning and you know, spending 9 hours in an airport and then getting my flight delayed and getting to somewhere at 10 o'clock at night. Like, nothing about that is like relaxing or glamorous. You know, obviously I don't have like the stresses and the demands of being at home, but honestly, being at home would probably be easier at that point in my day. In terms of souvenirs, I do try to get souvenirs for my kids. So if I see like something unique that we don't have at home, like a certain type of like local snack or candy, I'll pick that up for them. I've gotten into the habit of getting them sweatshirts at the airport, and so every different place I go, I try to get them a shirt or a sweatshirt. Kira really likes that. She's like, oh, it looks like I've been all of these places. So, you know, she's got sweatshirts from, you know, Chicago, Texas, Rhode Island, Georgia, you know, all these different places I've been. She's got a sweatshirt from every place. Connor doesn't care about clothes that much, but that's something that I do try to do for my kids. And then Adam, you know, I don't always bring him a souvenir home, but if there's something that I think he'll like, you know, a barbecue rub or, you know, just something fun. Like, I think last time I was in Rhode Island, there was like whiskey infused chocolate, or, you know, I got him that. So yes, I do try to get things for my family, but it's not every single time, but I do try to do that for them. Okay, Katie Sherrard says, thank you for the content that you put out on YouTube. I appreciate you. Have you ever created a travel must-haves video? So yes, kind of. I did do a travel tips video last December during Vlogmas. So I'll link that down below if you want to watch that. But thank you, Katie, for your comment. Lori says, wow, traveling 2 weeks out of the month must be hard. It is hard. It is hard, and I know that this won't be forever. I know at some point I'll probably get burned out on it, but for now, I love my job. So okay, Allison says, favorite foods to get at the grocery store while traveling. I did show you guys a grocery haul this trip, so I try to buy as like small of quantities as possible. The problem with buying food is that you also don't have a way to like keep it cold a lot of the time. So, you know, for example, when we're, you know, going out to these hospitals and clinics, you know, we might be, you know, stationed in a conference room all day, or maybe doing rounds throughout the hospital, throughout the clinic. And there's just really not a way to keep things cold. I can bring an ice pack with me, but then a lot of times there's not a freezer in my room, so I can't refreeze the ice pack once it melts. And so typically I'll try to get things that will be like shelf stable at least for a while. Like for example, today I had some like turkey sticks and some cheese sticks. I just threw those in my bag at the beginning of the day and ate them kind of like mid-morning. I always go down and kind of see what's at like the free hotel breakfast. Like this morning I grabbed some yogurt and an Egg McMuffin and took that with me. Other than that, I always make sure to get like water, Diet Pepsi, to keep in my room, because that's something that I always want to make sure that I have. I always have to have water on my nightstand, regardless of whether I'm at home or on the road. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't really go out and do like a huge hotel room grocery haul, because you never know, you know, when you're I would say it's very rare that I get a hotel room that actually has a kitchenette. So like this hotel room that I'm in now has a fridge and a microwave. So like technically I guess I could buy like freezer meals and make them in my room. But it's like, ultimately I probably don't want to eat like TV dinners every night for, you know. Yeah, do I have trouble sleeping? Yes, we have talked about that. Beck says, do you get a per diem for food when you're traveling? Yes, so we do get a certain allowance every day for food and hotel, and it's based on the kind of locality that you're in. So places where the cost of living is higher, you're gonna get more you know, to spend on your hotel and food. It just depends on where you're at. I will say that I think, personally, I feel like the inflation has not, inflation has increased at a higher rate than our allowance for food has. And so typically what I end up doing is just spending my own money on food, and then, you know, the company's gonna reimburse me a certain amount anyway. And so it probably all works out in the wash, but I don't necessarily worry about it that much. But yes, we do get a certain amount for lodging and food. Wendy says, how do you not gain weight while traveling on business? Because of eating every meal out or having buffets at the different venues, I kept gaining weight. Yeah, that is a struggle. And I think that's honestly why I haven't been able to lose weight quicker than I have been. You know, I've been trying this current, you know, weight loss journey since December of last year, which has been about a little over 6 months now. You know, it is a challenge. Like when I'm at home, I do great because I have my routine. I have everything I need. I can pack my lunches. I can cook my food. I can do everything I need. But when you're traveling for work, you just don't have the amount of control that you normally have. You know, and I'm sure I could be more disciplined about that, but it is highly challenging. And I think that just the stress involved with travel and the lack of sleep involved with travel also negatively impacts your weight. I do try to be really good about drinking my water. I bring my Stanley mug, you know, I fill that up throughout the day. And so there are kind of like strategies that I try to use to keep myself more on track, but it doesn't always work, but I try my hardest. Like this week I brought like some like shelf stable like turkey jerky sticks with me, and some little cheese crisps, and I kind of put those in my bag, and that worked really well when I was coming out here, because then when I was in the airport, when I was on the plane, I had kind of snacks, you know, I had my water, and so that kind of helped keep me from making worse choices than I could have. But it is a significant challenge. Carrie says, what do you actually do when you travel? Like conferences, teaching, patient care, what is the reason for your travel? So yeah, so our team is very like multifaceted. You know, our primary goal is to do consultation with healthcare facilities to help them improve their quality metrics, help them improve their patient experience metrics. But then I also do teach. So I educate, I do public speaking, I do workshops. So this week we did focus groups and we did a 2-day workshop, which was super exhausting, but I wanted to share this with you guys. So I recently got this, I purchased this on my own. It's Pipdex, it's called Workshop Tactics. So this is what I used for the workshop that I helped facilitate this week, and it was super awesome. These are not cheap. My work did not buy them for me. I purchased them on my own, but if you can get your job to purchase these for you, if you facilitate workshops, I highly, highly recommend them. It comes with a lot of online resources as well. So there's really kind of a variety of things that I do, and I really kind of draw on my experience in working in a hospital for, 18 plus years before I came to this job. Honestly, I've worked in healthcare since I was 17 years old. I started out as a CNA in a nursing home. Then I went to an acute care hospital. I worked as a CNA. I worked as a ward clerk. I worked as an LPN. I got my RN. I've worked acute care as an RN. I've did case management. I've did utilization management. I've did bed control. I've done data analytics. I've done quality management. Like I've done a lot of things in my career to kind of get me to this point. And so that is part of how I, build rapport with people when I travel, is saying, yes, I get where you're coming from. I've been a nurse for this long, and there's a lot of stuff to overcome kind of when you go out of like taking direct care of patients into more of an admin role. A lot of people will make you feel crappy for that. They'll make you feel like, oh, we're not a real nurse anymore, or, you sold out because you're not taking care of patients anymore. And the reality is that when you work in nursing or you work in healthcare, everyone's job path is different. There are some nurses who take care of patients their entire career. There are some nurses who never take care of patients. There are some, there's so many things you can do with your career. And it doesn't make you any less of a nurse just because you're doing a different role. So I always try to encourage people to kind of explore different things. That's one of the reasons why I decided to pursue a master's in nursing, is because I wanted to do more like leadership and consultant roles. And I feel like, while you're working direct patient care, you can make an impact, one-to-one with patients every day. When you're working in more of an administration role, you can if you're doing it right, you can make a wider impact on larger populations of, both employees and patients. And so that's sort of my spiel on that. I guess that was probably a long spiel, but anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Molly says, does your work comp you for travel and food? Yes. We do have to make sure that we're booking, the cheapest flight, the cheapest rental car. I mean, there are, barriers in there to make sure that we're controlling costs. But yes, I don't, nothing comes out of my pocket for travel. The only thing that would come out of my pocket is if I choose to, upgrade to first class, then I would use my money or my points or miles or, whatever, depending on what airline it is. Most of the time I don't do that because I don't think it's worth it. Sometimes I do use my miles, because traveling so frequently, you build up a lot of, loyalty miles. And so, yeah, if they're going to upgrade me to first class, either complimentary, sometimes I do get that. Or if they'll say like, oh, well, it's 5,000 miles. I'm like, psh, yeah, I'll take that. I'll do it. Okay. Jennifer says, we get it. You are a Platinum Marriott member and get access to the executive lounge, upgrades to suites, free food, etc., etc. No job is perfect or even close to it. That's why it's called a job. But if I had to travel for work and got so many perks, I probably wouldn't complain about it so much, especially on a YouTube video. Some people have jobs, I'm sure, that pay a lot less than what your position pays, and they have to go through way more BS than going to hotels with executive suites and getting free food. Just something to think about. So I read this comment and I thought, this comment is giving me must be nice vibes. Do you know the must be nice friends? So, let's say you post on Facebook and you're like, oh, I just booked a trip to Disneyland with my family. I'm so excited. We've never been to Disneyland before. And then your one friend, your one negative Nancy friend comes on there and says, it must be nice. It must be nice to go to Disney. It must be nice to go to Disney. It must be nice. I get comments like that too. Like I'll go and spend like $800 at Costco and they're like, well, it must be nice to be able to spend $800 at Costco. this was in response to the last travel video I posted. I probably did complain during that video. I'm not saying I never complain. I think that complaining about your job is a pretty normal thing. I don't think there's anyone in the world, no matter how much they like their job, that doesn't sometimes complain about it. I will fully admit I love my job. I love the people I work with. I love what I do. Does that mean that I don't complain sometimes? No, of course I complain. That's like a human thing to do. You know, and if you're watching videos here on my channel, I don't ever want to give the impression that like everything in my life is awesome. You know, there are channels out there if you want to watch like the total like Stepford mom, Stepford wife vibe. There are channels out there for you to watch that. Like everything is nice, everything is perfect, we cook everything organic, we're all thin, we wear leggings, we have a perfect life. Like there are channels out there for you like that. I am not that channel, and I fully own that. And I just try to like speak honestly. Like I think for most of you that have watched me for a long time, and a lot of you I've met in person, or you know me in person, I'm the same person on my YouTube videos as I am in real life, like for better or for worse. And you know, while there are perks for traveling for work, I think that anyone who has done it frequently knows that it is exhausting, it is not glamorous, and while it is super cool and I feel super lucky to do it, it is not all sunshine and rainbows all the time. And I think that this person who left me this comment probably has not traveled, you know, 2 to 3 weeks out of the month for work. I mean, sustained month after month after month. And so I understand that you probably wouldn't understand that perspective. And I do own it. Like if I was being annoying in that video in terms of like saying whatever, like, yes, I have executive lounge access, I will totally own that. I apologize for being an annoying person. I just ask Adam. I am super annoying sometimes. That is one of my traits. On the flip side, I have done a lot to get to this point in my career. It's not like I just graduated from college yesterday and all of a sudden got this position. I mean, I have worked, my first job I got when I was 16, I worked as a telemarketer. Super glamorous, right? I mean, that's when we all had home phones. I mean, I called and sold credit cards and 7 cents a minute long distance, you know. I worked in retail. I worked as a CNA for many years. You know, very hard manual labor, lifting patients, cleaning patients, wiping patients, changing diapers, feeding, adult, you know, all of that stuff. I did that for many years. I worked as a ward clerk. I worked as an LPN. I worked on, you know, I've done many things in my life. So I've done those jobs that this Jennifer is referring to. Some people have jobs that I'm sure pay a lot less. Yes. I have done those jobs. And so I'm not going to apologize for, you know, having a career now that pays me well and that I really enjoy, because I've worked super hard to get to this position, right? And I know that so many people watch my channel, so many women especially, who have messaged me on Instagram, who have emailed me, who have contacted me and said, I love watching your channel because you are such, you know, a positive role model of what a working mom can be. You know, because I saw you doing this, I went back to school. Because I saw you doing this, I went back to get my master's. You know, you showed me that I can work outside the home and be independent and still have kids. And to me, that's priceless, right? Like that's what I want out of my channel, because I have always felt personally like we as women should not have to trade our careers just because we have kids. And so that's what I feel super passionate about. And I feel super lucky that I get to, you know, share that with you guys. And so I think that, you know, personally, I will not apologize for having a job that I am compensated fairly for and I enjoy and I've worked really hard for. So that would be my response to that question. Zaya says, have you ever had a bed bug issue since you travel a lot? No, I have not, which is sort of surprising to me, and I don't really want to test that, so I'm probably not going to talk any more about it, but no, no, I've never had a bed bug issue. Okay, and Nicole says, do you mostly travel to the same places for work, or is it random? It is totally random. You know, we have a huge team of people who we try to, you know, coordinate schedules. And yes, if there are hospitals that some of us are familiar with and we have been to previously, you know, we will coordinate so we can go to those again. But I feel like for the most part, my team is very supportive, and it is very random where we get asked to go. Joanne says, I like seeing the hotel, and you may not know this, but you're funny when you were commenting about the hotel and food. I wouldn't get any work done because if I got in the pool, I wouldn't get out. Well, I mean, yeah, that's, I would say like that last vlog I posted, I would say that is the first time in many months I have gotten in a pool while I was traveling for work. I typically don't. I typically do not do that, but it was fun. Sheila says, does your employer or coworkers know that you are a vlogger, and what is their reaction? Yeah, so, you know, I don't talk about it a lot just because, you know, in my mind, it's very separate. You know, I really strive to keep my YouTube very separate from my regular job. But yeah, I mean, I'm really good friends with a lot of the people on my team. And yeah, I've shared before, like, oh, I got to write a cookbook and I make cooking videos on YouTube. And most people are like, oh my gosh, that's so fun. So yeah, they're very supportive. I don't think they watch my videos, but yeah, I mean, if you like the people you work with, they're like friends. They're kind of like your family, right? Like you spend almost a lot more time with them than you do your actual family. So yeah, everyone on my team is super supportive. Alarmry Farms, I might be saying that wrong. Share your favorite travel items and bags. I love to watch those videos. I'll again link that travel favorites video down below. I would say in terms of suitcases, the base suitcases are my favorite. I'm kicking myself because I did not bring one this week. I brought a stupid Samsonite suitcase and it is not good. Base is my favorite suitcase. I'll link them down below. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can think about right now. I mean, I basically just have like random travel bags for my toiletries and stuff, like freebies that I've gotten from Clinique and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for submitting those questions. It does really give me a lot more to talk about. And I've told you before, like sometimes I struggle with vlogging while I'm traveling for work because it's just so, like, it sounds glamorous, but it's so mundane. Like, oh, would you like to see my view of the New Hampshire freeway? Like, you know, sometimes I get to go to like really cool like downtown spots and locations, and the other time you're just stuck by a freeway in New Hampshire. So you know, that's the luck of the draw. Thank you guys for always supporting me. When I do sponsored content, it just means that I can bring you more content here on YouTube. If you want to try out Beam, I highly recommend both the Dream Powder and the Core. Really like both of them. So if you have any questions, let me know down below. Don't forget to use code Chapin with that link and get your discount. Thanks for watching. And if you want to watch my last meal prep video, you can click here.